Bobcat Lake Campground is located to the southwest of White City in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. The campground is located on Bobcat Lake, and on the east side of the lake is the swim and picnic area, but before we head over there, we're going to check out the campground. Getting to the campground is just a simple series of 2 tracks and dirt roads that most any vehicle should be able to navigate. When you first enter the campground, you notice that the campground appears to make one big loop, and there are actually 11 campsites located on the loop. The website for this campground does say that there are 12 sites available, but I only found 11 while visiting this campground. The cost to stay here is $13 a night, and you can stay here almost any time of the year as long as the roads are accessible. They stop servicing the campground once there becomes too much snow to get to the campground. They actually will close the gates at that point. You can see right off the bat there's a small trail that leads you to the outhouse, and the outhouse is pretty old and tucked away. It's nice and remote, so you have a little bit more privacy when you go up to it. Campsite number 1 is right across the road from campsite number 2, and campsite number 2 is lakeside. These campsites don't have great lake access, however, they are lakeside for the most part, and you might be able to pull a kayak or canoe right up to your campsite. However, you're not going to be able to go right down from your campsite and swim. You can see some of these campsites are really deep and would easily be big enough to back in a medium to large size trailer or pop-up camper. If you look across over there, there's somebody kayaking and fishing. I thought that was really neat because I recently bought myself a fishing kayak. If you happen to bring your canoe, kayak, or boat to back in, you can expect to catch some northern pike, some crappie, some bass, and some bluegill out here on this lake. Continuing around the campground, you can see that garbage can there. It leads me to believe that there are no bear issues at this campground, but I would never rule it out and leave food in my tent if I were staying at this campground, especially in the Upper Peninsula. Here's another nice campsite. It is lakeside. We're up here in the fall, and you can see the leaves are starting to come down, and the campground is not very busy at all. So I really love going through these campgrounds when there's not many people here. Campsite number 7 is another really nice big campsite. You have a great view of the water from down there. You could easily back a large rig into the back of this campsite. One little site was being used there with a small tent, and I'd imagine it's being used by the person that's out kayaking and fishing. As we continue around the loop, here's the second outhouse. This would definitely be my pickup outhouses, and it is right across from site number 11. However, I couldn't smell any smells coming from it from the campsite, so that's always a plus. Moving on from the campground, I'm going to head down to the boat launch. There's room here for maybe 5 or 6 vehicles and boat trailers to pull in on an angle parking setup. And the boat launch area has a loop drive, so you can loop around and back your boat down to the gravel boat launch. You don't have a dock or anything like that. You just have to back in, pull your boat back up to shore with a rope, and go park your vehicle. It is fairly shallow here at the boat launch area, definitely more suited for canoes or kayaks, but if you do launch a boat from here, you may have to use an oar to push yourself off and out into deeper water. Heading up the road now to the recreation area. It's a fairly small recreation area, but I was really impressed for how out in the middle of nowhere and how remote this feels. They actually have a changing station to change into your swimsuit, so you can go out into the water and change your swimsuit in privacy. We're going to walk around and take a look at this because you don't see this very often at such remote campgrounds. This is definitely a unique feature to this campground. I don't see them very often at very many campgrounds. I'm going to head down now and check out the water and the swim situation. It's only something like 60 degrees today, and again with only one camper here, I really didn't expect to see anyone swimming, but it's still nice to see if we have a sandy beach or if it's a muddy bottom. They have swim buoys out there to mark off where the safe swim zone is, And it's hard to tell in the video, but it is a nice sandy swim area out there in the water despite having mostly grass along the shoreline. There's a couple benches down here by the water and a couple picnic tables up farther towards the parking. Overall, this is a really great, nice, quiet campground, and I'm really glad that I stayed here.